So here we see, we've talked about the birth of Christ and what happened that day in Bethlehem, that great day, all the blessings that came from it. But now after we see, it says on the 8th day, when it was time to circumcise him, he was named Jesus. We know this was the name an angel had given him from before it was prophesied, before he was ever conceived. So it says it was time to go and sacrifice a pair of doves or 2 young pigeons. So they go to Jerusalem and they come across a man named Simeon. The Bible says he was righteous and devout, and he was waiting and had been waiting on Christ his entire life. It had been prophesied to him that he would see it. He had waited his entire life for something that he knew was coming. And he was patient, and he was ready. And what he was waiting on, the Bible says, was salvation, and it was hope. That's what he was waiting on. He said he waited. He said he was old. He knew his time was short, but he knew what God had promised him. Now, how many here would know that there was probably days that Simeon thought, is it ever going to happen? Is this hope ever going to come? Is this prophecy, is this promise ever going to take place? It would have been really easy probably for some days to say, I quit. I can't wait any longer. I'm beginning to wait. I don't even know if maybe I misheard something. There's no way this is taking too long. And he could have left the temple and went out and retired somewhere. Couldn't he? He could have done that. He could have left and went and lived with family, or he could have done something else. He could have left where he was at. He could have left his calling and left, because he said that there's no way this can be, because it has just taken too long. It's taken too long. I must have misheard something, or something's wrong, but it just ain't happening. And he could have left, and he could have left behind hope, salvation, the very promises that was given to him. But that isn't what Simeon did. It said Simeon held fast. He stayed. Day after day, he held fast to what God had promised him. Some days were probably good, some days were bad. That's life, isn't it? But every day he was there. Every day he was there. And one day, what happens? Here comes Mary and Joseph, carrying salvation. Until this time, the world had to work for anything good. And it was only temporary. Any kind of redemption, any kind of salvation was a work at that time. Remember, because of the law, and it was temporary. It only lasted for a little while, and you had to do it again. But that day, Simeon stood there, and here he comes. Here comes Christ, being held by those parents at the temple. And I'm sure that Simeon immediately flashed back to all those days that he came to the temple. There were days he was sick, days he was tired, days he just didn't really want to get up, didn't want to come, days that he felt like maybe it wasn't even true, days that his faith was wavered, but every day he came, I bet all those days flashed back as he took that child in his hands. He took that hope. He took that salvation. I guarantee you, he said, boy, wasn't it worth it? Every day, wasn't it worth it? Can I tell you today, some days may seem very long. Sometimes you may think, I don't even know anymore. I don't know. Life can throw you curveballs and different things. I know 2016, life may have thrown you some stuff you didn't see coming. Some days it may have been hard to get out of bed. Some days may have been this. Some days may have been that. But I promise you, hold fast, because there will be a day where it will all come into fruition. All the promises that God has given you. He's given us all promises. They're all in this book. He's given us all promises. There's going to come a day they're all going to come into fruition. I promise you, you'll say, boy, wasn't it worth it?
Yes.
Wasn't it worth it? Glory to God. You see so many times in people's lives in the Bible, from Abraham to Moses, you go back to Noah, you can go all the way through the Bible. Joseph, the father, the earthly father of Jesus, their lives were interrupted by Christ, by God. Their lives were interrupted. They had a plan, they had something they were doing, and their lives were interrupted. But it was always to make things better. Do you understand that? You may say, my life has been interrupted this year. My life has been interrupted. Something happened. I didn't see it coming. I had a plan, and it definitely hit me out of somewhere. It blindsided me. I never seen it, but I promise you, Christ does all things for your good. He will make you stronger. He will make it better. Boy, just lean on Him. Wait on Him. So then we see also now in 36, it says there was a prophetess, Anna, the daughter of Phanuel of the tribe of Asher. She was very old. She had lived with her husband 7 years after her marriage, and then was a widow until she was 84. When we get married and we say our vows, we don't expect 7 years, do we? We usually say we expect a long time. We don't get married and say, boy, I hope we have a good 7 years. Nobody does that. You expect a lifelong marriage. You expect you have plans. You have all these things, and that's what I'm sure she was no different. I know she lived in a different era, but she was still a person. They still had plans of probably a household, a family, children, all these things growing old together. But something happened. We don't know. The Bible doesn't tell us, but his life ended short. 7 years of marriage is all they had, and then she was alone. So we know that Anna experienced tragedy. She experienced loss. She experienced, I'm sure, sadness, mourning, all those things. And it said that she was a widow until she was 84 years old. So she's lived a long time alone. And she never left the temple, worship night and day, fasting and praying. Coming up to them at that very moment, she gave thanks to God, it says. So here comes this woman. She had known, like I said, heartache, failure. She had known tragedy. She had known loss. She had known all these things. We have Simeon here. Simeon was when he seen Christ, he seen hope. He seen salvation. He seen all those things. That's what he did. He told the parents, he said, this will be the one that will pierce the souls of Israel. He will bring life to the Gentiles. Simeon is holding hope and praising Christ for it. And then here comes Anna. She's like I said, she's beat down. I'm sure she's old. She's lived a long life. She's been in the temple by herself. She's like I said, her husband's gone. Here she comes and blesses Christ, and she sees Christ in another way. She sees redemption. The Bible says. She praises and says that this is redemption. She says everything that I've been through, everything that's happened to me, everything that I've battled my past, is made whole in Him because He is redemption for me.
Yes.
Today, can I tell you, that is also what Christ is. That's what Christmas represents. It represents redemption.
Yes.
The world was without hope. All those fruits of the Spirit we studied not that long ago, the world didn't have those before Christ. They weren't there. But when that happened, a blessing from Bethlehem came to be, and those things came to be.
Yes.
And we have them.
Yes.
I was going to save this for tonight. I'm going to say it tonight, but you're going to get a sneak peek at it. I've said this, and I've studied this, and it seems silly to say it, but oftentimes it's really easy to miss Christmas. You can say, how in the world can you miss Christmas? Drive through town to see the lights. I'm not talking about the commercialized, traditions of Christmas. That's what I'm talking about. But it can be very easy to miss the things that Simeon and Anna seen.
Yeah.
It can be very easy in the times of today to get busy, to get stressed, to have plans, to have all these things, and to miss the hope, to miss the redemption, to miss all those things. Don't do that. Grab a hold of those things. Recognize them. In 84 years of life, I could have seen it very easy for Anna to get lackadaisical, to kind of let her guard down. And it would have been very easy for her to meet up with Simeon later on and say, what did you do today? Well, I seen Christ. And her saying, I missed it. Wouldn't that could have happened. She said she was there day and night praying, worshiping. She was on guard. She was ready. She was not going to miss it.
Right.
She says, hey, I've had too much happen to me to miss Christ. I'm not doing it. Can I tell you today, I know lots of things have happened. Good, bad, indifferent. We've had lots of things happen. Nothing is worth missing Christ. I promise you that today. Nothing is worth missing. I don't care. You can say, I've been a Christian for 50 years. The devil can still put a spirit on you that can become lackadaisical, that can come, I don't want to say lazy, but kind of. After eating breakfast, I'm kind of feeling that way. In physical, not the spiritual, but in physical. But let's this year, let's make sure that we hang on to the stuff that's real, stuff that's not temporary but eternal. Hope. Well, I love it. Hope. Redemption. all the bad stuff, all the things that come to be. Hey, guess what? Christ washes that away. Gives you something better. There's going to come a day when it's all going to come to fruition. We're going to see heaven. We're going to see all those that have gone before us. We're going to see them again. And I guarantee you, we're not going to say, well, I don't know. It was kind of hard getting here. I don't know. We're going to say it was worth it. 100% worth it.
Yes.
Grab onto that. Speak that into your family's lives. And like I said, just God bless y'all. I thank y'all so much. Okay, we've got a couple of cards. Perry did this, and I didn't know what that meant. I said, oh, that's some kind of sign language or something. Bless him. We've got a couple of cards here. And a Cracker Barrel bag we're going to give away. Miss Lisa, come on down.